The freeze isn't a flaw. It's the most intelligent thing your body knows what to do to protect you when life becomes too much. Welcome to From Frozen to Felt, women who remembered their bodies. Welcome to Sacred Soul Sparks podcast, where devotion meets desire and the feminine awakens to her full magnetic power. I'm Michelle Cross, a guide for women reclaiming their sensuality, their voice, and the sacred union within. Each episode is a raw transmission from my soul to yours, inviting you to come home to the truth of who you are. Wild, soft, untamed, and deeply powerful. So let's dive in. There's a moment that doesn't necessarily announce itself. It isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. And it's the moment you realize you haven't truly felt your body in a long time. Maybe you've been living from the neck up, functioning, thinking, doing everything just so right. But that sacred pulse beneath it all is muted. And it's not that you're broken. You're in freeze. I meet women who are there, and they have come to me knowing it's no longer about healing or growing or fixing. It's about feeling again, because something in you aches, not for more information or another affirmation, but for sensation, for that aliveness that is felt, for the slow, sacred yes in your body. So when was the last time that you felt your own aliveness? The freeze isn't a flaw. It's the most intelligent thing your body knows how to do to protect you when life has become too much. Maybe it was the heartache that cracked you open. Maybe it was the betrayal that made you close, or the constant pressure to be everything to everyone else and nothing for you. I know what freeze feels like. I lived it. I've shared with you my story where in 2009, 3 events changed my life forever. I met Tantra. I met my now husband through a holiday romance, and I couldn't walk. And this is when the freeze began to thaw. And it's because I was forced to take off the masks, because for 23 years I numbed. I didn't think that I did, but our bodies keep the score. And when the time is right, the messages are going to be revealed. And so my no was not honored. And the food poisoning that I suffered and my whole body misaligning that coincided with me meeting my husband and meeting Tantra, it was life saying enough. Because this debilitating case of food poisoning, whilst I was teaching a group of women in Egypt, my whole body was in excruciating pain, and it was like unraveling the life that I had lived, that on the outside I was this strong, independent woman, teaching yoga, had my own yoga studio in London. I was independent. I was holding it all together. But beneath the mask, inside, I was lonely. I was craving love, starving for touch, connection, and the deeper truths that lived in my yoni. And I remember crying out, I can take heartache, please take away this pain. And it was then that I had the whisper from the goddess Kali. And she said, surrender, Michelle. And that is all I could paradoxically do, was to soften and feel the pain that was literally taking my breath away, the stabbing pain in the back of my body, which caused me to scream out. Because, of course, I wasn't actually dealing with heartache. For 23 years, I had compartmentalized the shame of my first sexual experience where my no was not honored. And Kali came to teach me surrender. And I'll go into the goddesses in another future podcast because they really are a massive part of my work. But I was resisting at first and then I softened. And what I love about the goddess path is their sacred initiations into deeper portals within yourself. And the goddess is often called the mother or Ma. And when I began to walk this path of Tantra, I began to walk with the Shakti Tantra path, which is the initiation into the feminine aspect, walking with the mother. And when my body stopped being this strong woman who had it all together, because I had buried the woman, the highest version of me, I buried her to survive. It was through Tantra and listening to the oracle of my yoni and to listen to the deep love in my heart that I began to walk with wisdom. And when I couldn't walk, called my mother, because the goddess asks you to call her in, to invite her in. And so it was my mother who helped me begin to walk again, and that really transformed all of the mother wounds as well. So these events of where I couldn't walk, and Tantra, and the feminine path, and the third one is my man, my now husband, who he also became my sexual healer and mirrors to me the daily path I walk. I want to share my vulnerable stories with you because maybe they speak to yours. This is how I learned to fully feel again and to heal the issues in the tissues where my body truly had kept the score. And maybe you've heard of these books. And this is really what I work with. And this is the fight and flight natural response. Our body is protecting us to survive. And in Tantra, this is really connected to our first energy center, Muladhara, which means root support. It's our very foundation. And I've shared this story for many, many years, and it's about the tiger. And I ask, if you were being chased by a tiger, and whilst you were running for your life, you stubbed your toe and it began to bleed, would you stop and tend to the injury? No, of course you wouldn't. You would literally keep running for your life because the body's survival mechanism of fight and flight would kick in, numb the pain in your toe so that you could avoid being eaten by the tiger. And then once you were safe, you would tend to the injury. Now, in the modern day world and with stressful lives, we keep reacting as if we're being chased by a tiger over and over again. And the problem is we never go back to tend to that injury or that life situation that we haven't processed or unnumbed, those places inside of us that we had to immobilize in order to get out of the trauma or to deal with the stress. And what this does is create broken loops of energy within our body, leaving the issues in the tissues as blockages. And I liken these to the intimacy blocks, where we find it hard to connect in a more authentic way. And so in Tantra, I share that most of us are yo-yoing between the first two chakras. When we have the response from the fight and flight, we then seek pleasure, which is the second chakra, Svadhisthana, our sweet abode. And we seek pleasure through food, sugar, the sweetness, or alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, numbing out on TV, dumb scrolling on social media. And the shadow side of the second chakra, energy center, is addiction. And so what we do is we go between stress and pleasure. We're stressed, so we seek pleasure. And then we go back to stress again. And it just literally goes back and forward. And the only way to really clear this loop, this habitual pattern, and you might see it in your life, is to activate the third energy center, Manipura, the fire, which is our willpower, our discernment to take charge. And so when we return to the roots, this is what I love about Tantra, is I share red Tantra, which really activates the lower chakras, our sensuality, our sexuality, because a lot of our issues are around these. But I'm fully aware that a lot of modern day living or white Tantra is the meditation and the ascension and the light. But there is duality in life. There is dark. We all came from sex. And for me, it's about going back to our foundation, to Muladhara, to our root support, to this sacred foundation. And in my lineage, Muladhara lives at the cervix. And this is not the perineum, it's not the tailbone, it's the cervix and that sacred threshold between the seen and unseen. And this is where I guide women. This is where we begin. Because without the root, we cannot rise. Without safety, we cannot soften. Without feeling, we cannot truly open. And so many women I meet are aching, longing to feel again. They maybe don't even realize that they've been living in survival. And their system, their body is stuck in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, people pleasing. And they're not lazy, they're not unmotivated. It's just that they're totally and utterly exhausted from trying to override the freeze with force. And so that's what happened to me when I suffered food poisoning. And I'm not going to give you the step by step. What I really want to give to you is permission. I'd love to invite you into the pause, to the places that feel numb, and to stop asking the mind to fix it, when maybe just breathe and allow the breath to melt the resistances. You don't need to do your healing, you need to feel. Let me say that again softly. You don't need to do your healing. You just need to feel. And what might that be for you right now? Do you feel tension in your jaw? Do you feel a pain in your chest? Do you want to run? Do you want to switch this off? It's all holy. That's the root whispering to you to be met. I don't kind of offer this love and light kind of spiritual offering. For me, every emotion, ache, pain is a portal deeper into your experience. I've often found in my life that the darker side is where I meet myself more fully, to integrate, to be truthful. And there is light and dark. Life often throws us curveballs to finally un-numb. And this can be through illness, through death, through a marriage breakup, through loss of money. And it's where we have to deal with the immense pain from years of numbing. And you might be seeing these repetitive patterns, this perpetual loop. And it's that yo-yo. I am a Sanskrit geek. I'm a geek full stop when it comes to Tantra. And Sanskrit is the mother language. And I studied Sanskrit before I met Tantra through my yoga training. And there's a word I love called vasana. And this means impressions. It's the energetic groove or tendency that repeats and is shaped by past experience, and it informs the present. So it's not the asana that you know in yoga, which is the pose, the external. It's the impressions that affect your present day. It's not even the karmic. It's that groove that creates what arises. And so the vasana might be that you want to leave the room and run. It can be when you smile, when your heart wants to cry. It can be when you just become so angry out for no reason. It can also be that longing for self-realization. It's not always what's deemed negative. They're invitations. And it's as if each one is saying, come closer. I'm ready to be felt. Your body truly does keep the score. Talk therapy has its place. I've been there. Mindset work is powerful. But your mind is not the whole story. You cannot think your way to safety. You cannot talk your way into turn on. Healing happens in the body. Truth pulses through your cells. Emotions don't just want to be understood. Emotions are energy in motion. They want to be felt, witnessed, released, flow. And this is all the this is all the dance. This isn't just therapy or tantra or mindset or magnetism. This for me is the integration of the feminine and masculine, of Shiva and Shakti, of your breath, of your bones, of your beautiful, broken, open heart. And this is what I love to guide women into. This is what every Sacred Soul Sparks episode I want to hold for you, where your body doesn't need to be fixed. She needs to be felt, embodied. And so if this lands for you, I want you to just sit with your body and ask a simple question and wait for the response. Because these are the whispers that your body are longing for you to hear. And if you want to go deeper and be guided, then I offer one-to-one mentoring where we hold this sacred space for you to begin to open up and feel, and I shift the energy within your body and I meet you in that portal. So I've got a really juicy subject for you next time, and it's connected to this. And we go deeper into the oracle between your legs. So, as always, if something sacred sparked within you, let them spread, let them stir, and share it with me. And I'll see you next time.